Okay. So, a lot of people have been asking on Reddit for a comprehensive tutorial to Conquest since some people have trouble picking it up, opposed to the other modes, which are pretty straightforward. And a lot of people can get salty if you don't know what you're doing in Conquest. I played this game since beta, and I'd like to show you what you should do. First off, you should not leave base without items. uh, Also, I'll be showing you the solo lane as Bologna, and this is also against bots, so it's not really that complicated. Typically, and the AI Callie is going to go to solo lane. Okay, well, pretend she's not there. Um, Typically, with solo lane, it is the short lane, which is the literally the shortest lane between the two towers. It's also the safest lane out of all three because the towers are so close. You can retreat into them, making it the safest lane. And that's also the same reason why duo lane is with two people instead of just one, because it's not safe. Also, at the beginning of the match, your solo laner and the jungle start at speed. We would down this. I can't by myself because a Callie won't help, obviously, because she's a bot. Then you would come over to the mana camp, do the mana camp for your solo laner. That would be me. So I would pick up the mana and then go to town on this. Um, Jungle typically doesn't follow the solo laner anymore. They used to. After the blue buff, the jungle would actually head towards mid camp, which would be over there. And solo lane, pretty straightforward. You don't really do much but stay on this lane unless your opponent leaves lane. So say Guan Yu's missing right now. I could actually farm up a little bit by clearing that wave and gank middle lane really, really early. This Ra is extremely pushed up because it's a bot, doesn't know what it's doing. So you could get a really, really early gank on him. Um, and that typically makes whoever's in mid lane rage at their ally that's in solo lane by not calling missing. And on a side note, you should always call missing if somebody is missing. That's pretty obvious. Um, that's pretty much it for the solo lane. And also, if the opponent leaves and you notice their blue buff is up, it's extremely good to take their blue buff from them. So if you're able to pick off their blue buff, it puts them at a severe disadvantage, especially if it's a hell. Typically, if I see a hell on solo lane, or if I think she's going to be in solo lane, I'll actually get my jungler and start at this blue buff and down it before anything else, because a hell is extremely powerful with a blue buff on. If you take that away from her, she is nothing early game, and you can shut her down really quick. So that pretty much does it for solo lane. It's the easiest lane out of all of them. Very straightforward. Callie feeding like always. So next up is going to be mid lane. Oh, I didn't go over the builds for solo lane. So yeah, solo usually starts with bluestone if you're a warrior. Some warriors like Osiris can start with Death's Toll, which is really good because his last, and also Bologna can start with Death's Toll because her auto attacks with her two hit everything around it, and Death's Toll procs off of everything around it. So the more minions you hit with it, the more HP you can regen. So actually, that it would be, I think it's up to 3 minions it could hit. So to be 18 health and 3 mana per auto attack, which is extremely good. But Bluestone is also, I mean, you build anything on Bologna and should be amazing. But Bluestone is also good because it does 30 physical damage per stack that you can have on them, and up to 2 stacks. So that's a 60 physical damage stacks for 2 seconds. So that's an additional 60 damage that you did just by hitting them with abilities. And then you also have to counter build to your opponent. If you're a warrior like Bologna going up against a mage, a Stone of Gaia is really good to pick up early. Well, actually, you can stop at Emerald Talisman and then finish Stone of Gaia later. If you're going up against another warrior, Rune Forged is extremely good to get early. Also, Mystical Mail is really good to get early. But Mystical Mail is extremely expensive. But the good thing about Mystical Mail is that it does a radius magic damage. So even if they build physical defense, you're still going to be doing 40 magical damage to them that they can't stop unless they get magical defense, which they probably won't get first since they're going against another warrior. Solo lane usually sees warrior versus warrior combat, rarely warrior versus mage, and then even more rare is mage versus mage. Okay, so now I pretty much cover that. And then if you don't really know what to build on a warrior, you really have to look up builds. But it's good to know to counter build to your opponent. Warriors stack physical defense early, and then if you're going against a mage, get Emerald Talisman. Alright, so we're back and I'm about to explain the mid lane with Poseidon. Poseidon, you always want to get his 3 first, and with any mid lane, and any mage in general, you typically want to get Vampiric Shroud. It's almost always the best starter item. For gods that rely on auto attacks, such as Sol, Freya, and Kronos, they can actually get Soul Stone, which makes their abilities, when they hit that 5 stack mark, do a crap load of damage. 40 extra magic power when you hit 5 stacks on your next ability. Vampiric Shroud is more about sustain, gives you health, mana per 5, and magic power. You also get 10 HP back and 10 mana whenever you kill a minion. I always start Boots 1 and then get mana pots. Actually, hold up. No. I fucked up. I was thinking my warrior build. Lost Artifact and then mana pots. So when the game starts, the mid laner and the duo laners, god damn it, they come over here to damage camp. We down damage camp. I grab the damage camp because I'm mid laner. Then I head back for the first wave, and I am actually severely underleveled compared to this raw. But see that 10 HP I get back? That's a sustain. Once you clear the first wave, which should have been a while ago, but I was too busy messing around, you and your jungler will come clear this camp right here in mid camp. You need to watch out for enemies invading you when you're clearing it, because if you down yours before they down theirs, a good strategy is to come over to theirs, which will be on this side, and try to steal that with either you wait for them to get it low, and then you can drop a puddle underneath it, or use an ability to snipe it, because if you get the last hit on it, you get all the XP and gold. They don't get anything, which is extremely, extremely good. Damn, I need to actually farm a little bit. So mid lane, if the mid laner is missing, you need to either rotate left or right, and you need to make a decision pretty quickly, because the mid laner will return really quick, because it's the shortest lane in the game. So if you go over to gank duo, make sure that you have kill potential, which means that the enemy is like pushed up to back right there, and there's pretty much no way they can back before you get over there, unless they know that you're coming by somehow. Like if their enemy mid laner says that he backed, and that, you know, tells them to be careful that they might be ganked. You should always look to see when your power is coming back up. You want to continuously get that power buff. That is always going to be your buff until the late game. Late game, you can actually give it to other gods, typically the jungler or the ADC. What else should I get over? Warding, I'll get to when I explain the jungle, because I'm going to be in the jungle mostly there. You didn't see that. I thought he was going to move forward, but the AI always moves backward. I think that's about it. Oh, no. I forgot something really important. Really, really important. Once you down this camp and the opposite camp, if you're able to snipe it, you want to clear the next wave, because there'll be a wave that comes up by the time you do that. And then you'll come back here with your jungler, and these AI are going to get in the way. But you want to clear this camp right here with your jungler and get that XP, because if your enemy opponent does not do that, you'll be ahead of them in level and gold. So you'll have more abilities unlocked, and you'll have, you know, higher damage output because they have higher level abilities. You want to do everything you can as a mid laner to get ahead of your opponent. And that pretty much does it for mid lane. Oh, no, one more thing I wanted to explain. The mid lane will always be the highest level unless somebody else gets fed, because the mid lane sees the most amount of waves out of any of the lanes, because of the curvature of the left lane and right lane. The minions actually take longer to walk to that lane, and you always want to pick up wards. I didn't, because there's no jungler in the practice mode. You always want to pick up wards when you back. You always want to pick up wards, no matter what position you're playing. You want to pick up wards, and that's pretty much it for the mid lane. Okay, so we're back with the ADC role now on duo lane. I'm playing Ullr. ADC is probably the most versatile start out of any of the god roles, because you could do either one of two things. You could either get Death's Toll and spiked gauntlets, like this is recommending to start with, or if you think you can stay alive longer, you can rush Transcendence. Transcendence is the best item that you can get on an ADC, because it gives the most power, physical power, out of any item in the game. Ullr, it's almost necessary to get Transcendence, because he eats mana like there's no tomorrow. And like again, I'm already a minute into the game and I haven't even left base, like a scrub. Um, so with your start with your mid laner, all three will go to the power buff. Once you down the power buff with your mid laner, you and your support will come do the attack speed buff. You get the attack speed buff as the ADC. However, in certain situations, crap. And that's why you should never be behind, because look how much low damage I do. In certain situations, you would give your support the attack speed buff. Like Sylvanas, if you give Sylvanas the attack speed buff, he can actually outpush any group combination, really, because of his AoE auto attacks. So he can hit multiple minions per shot. What was I saying? ADC typically stays in this lane the whole game until late game. Probably around the 20-minute mark is when you actually go to a different lane. Once you get this first tower down, then you're able to go to another lane. So you never rotate. Never. It's just going to be you and this other ADC staring at each other all day, every day, and trying to kill each other. Your support sometimes leaves. If he's a good guardian, he will not stay in lane the whole time, because if he does, he will actually decrease the amount of farm that you get from these minion waves. So he has to actually go get farm from other places, such as camps and mid lane. Mid lane is probably the most leeched off of lane. Leeching as in other people coming to your lane to get experience, because they don't want to steal it from their other allies. Because mid lane typically sees the most minion wave, they're higher level than everyone else, and can afford to lose a few minions to help out their teammates. So a support will leave lane to go to do jungle camps at some point during the game. I don't have any mana. ADC, the builds you want to go is Transcendence into attack speed boots. After that, it's really up to you, and it depends on the ADC himself, because some ADCs have self heals. They don't really need as much lifesteal. But Uller, just Uller himself, I typically go Ninja Tabbies into lifesteal. Either AC, if I want to get penetration and attack speed and lifesteal, or I get Soul Eater, which gives health, physical attacks, physical lifesteal, and attack speed, and it also gives a slight amount of power, not that much. But Transcendence, I already messed it up. I didn't even get Transcendence, because I'm too busy talking. But Transcendence you want to get extremely early. The first thing you want to buy is Transcendence. Skip everything else. Once you get boots, Transcendence and boots, you want to pick up beads, because you're going to be getting frozen by Ymir or any other support that's playing, and they're going to be crapping on your cupcakes whenever they come and freeze you. So that's pretty much it for ADC. ADC wards the less out of any of the roles, because they have to focus on getting fed and getting built. they spend the least amount on warding, or should be spending the least amount on warding. If you're, being a team player, you will get a couple wards, but you want to make sure you get your Transcendence online and your attack speed boots online before you buy any wards. And as always, you can look for additional XP as you're going back to lane from these three camps. And whenever you see that their Guardian is down, their ADC is down, or generally if there's like just two people left alive on their team, you want to go ahead and start Gold Fury if your teammates are around. If they're over here in like solo lane and they can't get to you, there's no way you can do Gold Fury. But if you call like attack the Gold Fury when you have your whole team around you, you're going to be doing the bulk of the damage to the Gold Fury as the ADC. That's another thing I want to touch on too, is the actual name ADC. It stands for Attack Damage Carry. It's the only one out of the roles that actually has an acronym, because it sort of transferred from League of Legends. So attack damage carry is exactly what it sounds like. You get all of your damage, or a majority of your damage, from attacks. Damn it. From actually auto-based attacks. And beads and sprint are the two most common actives for ADCs. Another one you could possibly throw in is Aegis. Aegis is another one that you could throw in, but beads is a must. You always have to have beads, because if you get locked down, you're not going to have any defense, because ADCs don't buy defense items, because they are all about the damage. You don't have any defense items. If you do, you're doing it wrong. That's pretty much it. So this time I'm going to be showing you supporting. See, it's the easiest role in the game, but it's also the hardest. I don't know how to describe it better than that. It's an easy concept, but it's hard to execute, because you're basically responsible for keeping all of these dumb people alive. And they're going to be dumb. They're going to go into 1v5s. They're going to go in without you. They're going to be like, YOLO, let's go attack all 5 at once and see what happens. And then, oh man, why weren't you there supporting? So ignore this. Don't ever get this item. It is just trash. Supports, like I said in the previous video, I think, you can get Mark of the Vanguard, which reduces damage taken by 5. But it doesn't give any sustain. Watcher's Gift will give you 10 HP and 5 mana per each minion that you help kill, but don't actually get the last hit on. So if you give your ADC the kill, you will get 10 health and 4 mana. It also works on minions. Like if you hit an enemy minion and then your minion kills that minion, you still get that bonus. You also get an additional 4 gold if you let somebody else kill it. So after we go do these 2 camps, as always, you head to duo lane, and you want to play passive in the early game, because you only have 1 ability unlocked, or 2 depending on how many camps you did. Holy shit. You want to look for opportunities to attack, but then you also want to keep in mind that you also have to make sure that you have an escape plan. As a support, you're going to be the first into the battle and last to leave. You are going to get killed. There's no doubt about it. You are going to get killed most of the time. You have to rely on your ADC to do all of your damage. And when it is necessary, you body block for them. So if they were like full HP coming at this Artemis, It's your job to try to keep her alive by standing in front of her. I mean, she wouldn't be moving forward. Hopefully not, if it was a real player. She'd be running back to base. So you body block for your ADC, or anybody on the team. It's your job to keep them alive. Warding, like I said, I'll get to jungle, but the support does 90% of the warding in the game, most likely. Um, Now, see, that's what they should be doing. They should be running back to base. If you see a Neath on the enemy team, stand in front of them as they're backing, because a quick Neath ult will kill them. The Guardians have to be the most aware of the enemy's surroundings, or the enemy's movements, more so than anyone else in the game. Um, you have to keep tabs on their support to see if he's rotating to mid lane. You have to keep tabs if he backed, because if he backed, you can potentially push on their ADC or rotate to another lane, like mid lane over here. Hopefully Artemis doesn't get killed. Um, if if these camps are up, you really want to get them. These camps give the most XP in the game. I don't know if I've explained that earlier or not, but because of these two giant harpies, they give more XP and gold, 45 gold for killing each, where the other mobs I think only give 20 or 25. Um, so it's a lot better to kill those. Support items, you want to get Shoes of Focus, or if you want to be really tanky, Reinforced Greaves. Traveler Shoes was the thing for a while, but it's kind of gone away. You can still get Traveler Shoes to try to get ahead in gold, but keep in mind that Traveler Shoes gives you the least amount of magical power. Actually, scratch that. They have both the same. But you aren't as tanky as if you bought Reinforced Greaves. So this one is all about cooldowns and mana. You get a lot of mana now. This one is about reducing the crowd control, so if a Ymir freezes you, you stay frozen 30% less time. Also, it gives you health and movement speed. Traveler Shoes is about getting gold. If you get Traveler Shoes, you get 30 gold for each enemy god that you hit, and it can only be done every 90 seconds, so a minute and a half. You can get another 30 gold just by hitting a god. And it can't be the same god. And this is actually true. This core right here, you really want to look at getting. You have to decide who is more dangerous on their team in the duo lane, either the Ymir or Neath. You'll be able to tell by the time that you have to build these items which one is going to be putting out more damage, because like sometimes the support is a way better player than the ADC. So if the Neath is putting out a lot of damage, you actually want to go for Heart Ward. I know it sounds counterintuitive because it gives you magic defense and Neath is a physical, but when you get Heart Ward, you give 20 physical protections to your allies. That 20 protections will mitigate any damage that Neath does to your ADC while you're near your ADC. Also, you also get that 20 physical protections yourself. So while you'll be less tanky towards the Neath, you'll be more tanky towards the Ymir. And you just have to dodge the Neath's attacks. Easier said than done. Then you want to pick up Sovereignty. So these items are always going to be first. Or after you finish boots, you want to get one of these first. It just depends on which one you want to get. And they're both the same item, just, opposite of each other. Like this one's magic and gives MP5 and magic or physical protections, and this one is a physical defense item that gives HP5 and magic protections. So in all, it'll actually give 20 of each protections to your ally, and you'll get 70 protections from each, or 70 protections of each one whenever you finish them. And after you finish those two items, the rest of your build is really just situational. Do you want to get cooldowns, or do you want to get damage? Well, you typically don't want to get damage because you're supposed to be tanky. Bulwark is good. Voidstone is good. Magi's is for if you want to make sure that you have your CC immune whenever you're going for Gold Fury or Fire Giant. Because if you're going for Gold Fury or Fire Giant, the support or anybody with CC is typically going to try to jump in and stop you from taking it using their CC. If you have Magi's on, it'll actually eat that Magi's and make it so you don't get interrupted whenever you're trying to clear that. Alright, so I'll be showing you jungling on Mercury. Still practice mode, but let's look at the starter items. All junglers usually start with Bumba's Mask. And this is for physical junglers. There's also magical junglers, but we'll discuss that later. Most of the time, your junglers are going to be assassins or warriors like Bellona or Osiris can also jungle. And you want to get Bumba's Mask or Death's Toll. One of the two. Bumba's Mask most of the time because it's passive. Every time you kill a damage camp, you get a portion of its HP added to your HP. And you also do 10% extra true damage to that camp. So all of your abilities do 10% damage to that camp, and your auto attacks deal 10 true damage. So enemy gods, they'll do a 10 additional, well, I shouldn't say additional, damage that won't be mitigated. And I might do a video which talks about damage mitigation as well for new players. But those are the two items that you want to start with. I usually get Bumba's Mask, boots, and a couple pots. And then in a real match, I think you start with less gold than in practice matches. So you usually run out of gold with that. Jungle, we always head towards the solo lane, to this speed camp. We clear that speed camp. I can't do it because the Hercules won't help. Then we drop the mana camp, and then as jungler you want to head immediately to this camp right here, and hopefully your mid laner will actually help you with this camp. I don't even know if I can do it at level 1. Yeah, I can. Alright. Then you go and try to steal left camp. If you can't steal left camp, you can leech a few XP to get your next set of abilities. You can leech some XP from mid lane. Not much though. You don't want to accidentally make your mid laner under leveled compared to the person that they're fighting. So just like get to level 3 and then dip or get out. Then you want to head to this back camp with your mid laner. If he doesn't have to follow you. I explained that in the mid laner video. But he doesn't have to follow you, but it's typically a good idea to get them ahead. He could follow you in here and get some XP to put him a level ahead of the mid laner.
Then
you go to these right camps, or left camps, sorry. Um, Clear them. And um, if we had done the speed camp and the mana camp, I should be level 5. But I'm not because we didn't do them. So if we had done those two, then you make your first appearance on left lane. Hopefully your allies hadn't already given up a kill. And you try to gank or do whatever you can. Get boots first, and then build with junglers. So you're going to have to look up different builds. There's literally trillions of builds for well, not trillions, but tons of builds for junglers, different situations, different items. You really just have to play the game to figure out what you need, what you should build, and what you need to build. But jungle is going to keep rotating between solo lane and duo lane and mid lane. That's all you do all game is look for ganks and get farm. You have to keep an eye on when these camps are coming up, because the more times you down them, the more XP you get. If you just leave them sitting there, you don't get as much XP because they don't respawn until you kill them. So you're basically just wasting XP by not killing them. But if you see a potential gank, it's better to go for the kill than to go for camps. You don't want to be one of those junglers that just sit and jungle the whole game and never come out, because you will piss off your teammates. You help the people with their buffs whenever you see it up. Like if mid laner tries to get his red, you go help him with his red. You're pretty much like the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. You pretty much just spawn out of nowhere and try to help however you can. Okay, so jungling, it's pretty much that basic concept. You want to keep an eye on all the camps when they're going to come up. Even if a enemy downs a camp, you can still get the timer on it if you go near it. So this speed camp, this speed camp, if that was downed in the beginning of the game, you would know when it's going to come up, because yours will come up at the same time if they killed it. If they didn't kill it, or if you killed yours at a separate time or something, if you walk by the camp right here, you will get the timer for it, and you'll be able to see when it spawns again. What else can I explain? Solo lane is probably the easiest kill potential for a jungler, just because there's only one direction that people can come from. So if you try to gank on mid lane, you could end up being ganked yourself by the enemy jungler. Really, a lot easier than you would if you were ganking solo lane. And I see a lot of new junglers make that mistake of where they just stay on the solo laner side and don't ever go to the duo lane. So they end up just sitting in this side of the jungle over here and not doing anything the whole game. If you see this camp up right here, the attack speed, if you're able to take that without the enemy seeing you, you can put their ADC behind because they won't have as much attack speed. It doesn't really matter as much late game, but in the first 10 minutes, it does matter a lot, because you aren't typically building attack speed early on an ADC. You typically build it like second or third. So having that attack speed buff really, really helps an ADC in the beginning of the game. And also that power buff over there, if you're able to snipe that one, that one's also good as well. So now I'll show you the different warding spots. Now, wards, you can only have 2 active at any time. Let me show you. You can buy 3 by getting the sentry ward and the 2 regular wards. However, if you place either one, like so, if I place 2 of these regular wards and then I place the sentry ward, the first ward that I place will disappear. And warding is generally in the same place every single time. You want to ward at crossroads in the jungle, which would be here, 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 and here. So there's 4 places on each side where you want to have wards up at all times. And it's not just the jungle that's going to be warding, obviously, because you can only have 2 active at the same time. So you're going to have to get your allies to ward with you. So you drop a ward. You drop another ward. And that gives vision for anybody crossing this path, these 2 paths, heading towards this jungle, because the only way to get to this lane is through this, or right here, and right here. And solo lane only has 3 entry points between the towers. I mean, there's these as well, but between the towers there's only 3 entry points, where duo lane has 3 as well. But the duo lane is a wider. It's a cut that out. Sentry wards are the special type of ward, if you don't already know, that can see other wards. Supports usually buy them because they cost more. They cost 135 versus 50. And they are generally placed on Gold Fury and Fire Giant, which is across on the opposite side of the map. Counter warding is when you take a sentry ward, place it on top of an enemy ward, and it allows you to see their ward and kill it. You can't kill their ward otherwise unless you get a sentry ward. And then once they see that you killed their ward, they're probably going to get a sentry warded themselves and kill your ward. So you pretty much just have to make sure you're the last one to ward. And a good way to do that is to look at their items right here and see if anybody picked up any wards. And Ymir did, but he's an AI and you won't ever place him. What else do I need to go over? Split pushing is really for the jungles and ADCs. Because we do attack damage, the towers are only affected by attack damage. There was a glitch for about a week or 2 where Soul was actually able to damage towers with abilities, but that was patched. So the gods with attack damage, which is usually the ADC and the jungler. Sometimes solo laner is attack damage, like a Bellona is attack damage. But well, Bellona's a mix of both. And Osiris is attack damage. Your job is to split push, which means attacking these towers whenever you see that their support and ADC are backed or away. You can help push their tower. And that's what really matters in a game, is pushing towers rather than getting kills, because towers give everybody on the team 100 gold versus just somebody getting a kill. They get 200 gold, or it depends on their level that they killed. But everybody on the team gets 100 gold if you killed a tower. And with Gold Fury, everybody on the team gets 300 gold. So it's better to go for objectives than it is to go for a personal kill. So say like I just killed Guan Yu, right? And say if this Thor wasn't here, like he is right now, me and Herc can push this tower now without anybody stopping us. And he just went back and forth between the towers. But you want to look for situations where you can make it a 2v1, like ganking mid lane, ganking solo lane, ganking duo lane whenever their support is missing. And that's pretty much it for jungling. The warding part is for every single god. There's nobody that doesn't need to buy wards. Everybody needs to buy wards, but ADC buys the least. Jungle and support probably buy the most because they see a pretty good amount of farm. Mid is supposed to buy a lot as well, but mages typically have really expensive items, so they have to build really expensive items, especially Rada Tahuti. So they focus more on building than warding. Alright, so I realized I left something out. One thing that you need to do above anything else is push objectives. Objectives are the towers and the lanes, the phoenixes, the titan, and also the fire giant and gold fury. Fire giant and gold fury are situational objectives. You can't. Well, Gold Fury late game you can solo if you're a ADC or a jungler. You can do it yourself. And before they nerf lifesteal, you used to be able to do Fire Giant by yourself, but that was kind of broken. But they're supposed to be team objective kills, and you should only do them if you have vision on your enemy. So if you know you just killed all of them, like if you killed 4 out of 5, it's safe to go for Fire Giant or Gold Fury. And Fire Giant takes priority over Gold Fury, since Gold Fury just gives gold. Fire Giant gives you a buff that gives you 70 magical power, 50 physical power, and then a lot of life regen. It's a massive boost. It can actually go over the limit of attack damage. So if you're already capped out on attack damage from items, you can actually go over that limit with Fire Giant buff, which allows you to push objectives really, really hard. Objectives are they deal physical damage, and they are resistant to abilities, so they only take auto attack damage. They have defense. I don't know the exact number, but they do have a defense number associated with them, so your damage from attacks are mitigated. meaning that if you get a penetration item such as Titan's Bane, you will be doing a lot more damage to the tower whenever you auto attack. The only damage you can get due to a tower is through auto attacks. The Fire Giant and Gold Fury you can use abilities on, and with the Titan as well you can use abilities on. So these three right here you can use abilities on. The towers and phoenixes, which are the three phoenixes that guard the Titan, you cannot use abilities on. You can only auto. So you have to go into the tower's range to be able to kill it. And you only want to do that if it's safe, like if you have your whole team there and there's only one person guarding it, or if the enemy team is all dead, you can go for a tower really easily, or if they're all on one side. So say if like you were on this duo lane side, and which would be over here. Like say if you were on duo lane side and the whole team, the enemy team, was over here, you could do that tower pretty safely. That's called split pushing, is when you go for a objective whenever the enemy team is all gathered in one location. And once you down these towers, the best one to down first is the duo lane side. The duo lane, if you can get the duo lane Phoenix down early, that means the enemy has to babysit that lane, because now it's going to have fire minions, which do twice as much damage than the regular minions. So they'll be able to, the minions themselves will be able to push that lane up into their Phoenix or their Titan. So somebody on their team, one out of the 4 people or one out of the 5 people, has to babysit that lane until that Phoenix comes back up, which leaves you in a 5v4 situation to do anything else, such as pushing another lane or going for Fire Giant or Gold Fury, whichever floats your boat. Fire Giant's the most important buff in the game. And that pretty much does it for objectives. You always want to prioritize objectives over kills. Getting kills sometimes leads to getting objectives. Because if you kill somebody on their lane, they aren't going to be there to defend it. And, okay, well that pretty much does it for this tutorial. If you wanted me to do a tutorial on specific gods or specific items, just let me know and I'll do a tutorial for you. I know there's a lot of new players out there that are just coming over from other MOBAs, and the terminologies and the concepts of each god, a lot of them are based on other champions from Dota or whatever, or League, so they're easier to pick up. But the one thing that's different about Smite is you actually have to aim your auto attacks. And because in League, if you auto attack, it's pretty much a homing missile. You can't miss once you shoot your auto attack. So keep that in mind.